Hello again, my name's John. I'm a retired cook from the northeast of England in the UK, and welcome to another one of my pie videos. And in this one I'll show you how to make these delicious individual steak and ale pies. This pie recipe is very popular in pubs, restaurants and cafes in the UK. It certainly went down well with our customers, and I'm absolutely certain that you and your family will love them too. You can see the ingredients list and full written method for this recipe on the recipe page on the channel's website, and the link to that page and lots more is in the description box under the video. Just find and click on the word more, and that'll give you access to all the relative links for this video, including our website store products. Okay, let's get on with today's recipe. Okay, I'll start by making this delicious steak and ale pie filling. Get a large frying pan on a high heat and add 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Once your oil's hot, start frying your meat until it has some colour. So as not to overcrowd the pan, do this in 2 batches. The lean beef that I'm using is a slow cook stewing steak. Once the first batch is done, move it over to one side and add the other half. In fact, I'm going to take it out and put it in this bowl. And when that half is nice and brown, get that into the bowl too. Now, without cleaning the pan, because there's a lot of flavour still in there, add another tablespoon of oil. And once that's hot, add your diced onions and fry those until they're soft and brown. Okay, that's the onions done, so I'll add those to the bowl too. Okay, get a suitable size saucepan on a medium heat. Add the meat and onions to the pan. Now add your stock. I'm using natural beef stock, but if you don't have any, just use a couple of beef stock cubes. Next ingredient is the ale, or beer, it's the same thing. I'm using this Yorkshire Smooth Ale for mine. If the alcohol bothers you, there's loads of non-alcoholic beers out there that you can use. But the alcohol evaporates away in the cooking process anyway. Now even if you don't like beer, don't worry, because the finished filling doesn't really taste like beer at all. But it's something you'll have to try for yourself to appreciate this delicious transformation it has. Next to go in is 1 tablespoon of tomato puree. And stir that in. Now add a good pinch of salt. About a half teaspoon is ideal. Next, a good pinch of freshly ground black pepper. Final ingredient is 1 or 2 bay leaves. Mine are humongous, so I'm just going to use 1. Right, bring that to a steady boil. As soon as it reaches the boiling point, reduce the temperature to very low. Get the lid on the pot and simmer that for at least 1 hour. Okay, mine's been going for 1 hour, and I'll check for tenderness. Mine's okay, but if yours is still on the tough side, keep simmering until it's tender. Also, keep an eye on the stock level. If it starts dropping, add a little water. Before thickening, remove the bay leaf. Time to thicken the filling, and I'm using corn flour mixed with a little cold water. You may know that as cornstarch. Get the corn flour in and start stirring. It should immediately thicken. Once it's thickened, clean down the sides of the pan. Get the lid on the pan and don't forget to turn off the heat. You'll have to let that completely cool before you can use it. You can make this the day before. I do, and I keep mine in the fridge overnight. Or if you're in a hurry, you can float the pan in a sink of cold water. It should be ready to use in about 30 minutes. Okay, on to making the hot water crust pastry. And this pastry has got to be the easiest and tastiest pastry you'll ever make. Start by putting your water in a small saucepan and onto a low heat. Firstly, add the lard to the pan. Now lard is a pork product, so if you don't like or use pork ingredients, use a solid vegetable fat instead. Or you can get away with just using all butter. Next, you can add the butter to the pan. Now let that slowly heat up until all the fats have melted. And while that's heating up, get your flour into a large bowl and add the salt. Now mix those together and form a well in the middle. Soon as the fats have melted, add the hot liquid to the flour in the bowl. And using my trusty wooden spoon handle, I'll bring it all together. Once you have it roughly mixed, turn it out onto the bench and start to bring it together with your hands. It should be cool enough by now, but always check first. There should be enough pastry in this recipe to make 4 5-inch individual pies. Form the dough into a rectangle and split it into 3 pieces. Wrap each piece in cling film as shown. Dividing and flattening the pastry out like this just helps it cool a lot quicker in the fridge. And before you say, I am using biodegradable cling film. Now get it into the fridge for at least 1 hour before using it. For these pies I'll be using our 12.5cm or 5-inch individual pie tins. And if you want to follow this recipe exactly, these pie tins are now available on our website if you're interested. Now I'm greasing mine with a little lard. Butter or a solid vegetable fat will do the same job too. For rolling the pastry out, I'll be using our adjustable stainless steel rolling pin. Now these are also available on the website. These amazing rolling pins take all of the guesswork out of rolling your pastry out to the correct thickness. And for this one, I'll be using the 3mm or 1/8 spacer. On to rolling out the pastry. Now if your pastry's been in the fridge for more than 2 hours, take it out 30 minutes before you intend to use it. Just manipulate the pastry a little and the heat of your hands will soften it up, making it easier to work. For demonstration purposes, I'll make 1 large disc for the base of one of the pies and 1 for the lid of the pie. I'll do the rest off camera. Dust the bench with a little flour. Add a little to the pastry too. Right, I'll start rolling it out until I reach the required length, width and thickness. So keep rolling to the required size. To prevent things sticking, continue dusting the bench and the pastry with flour as and when required. I'll be using these large pastry cutters to cut mine, but you can find something of a similar size to cut yours out. The pie bases for my tins needs to be approximately 17cm or 6.5 inches. Right, that's the base pastry for mine cut. Now I'll cut the lid for the pie. And for the lids of the pies, they need to be around 14cm, that's about 5.5 inches. I'll leave a link in the description box below the video to where you can get hold of these really handy large pastry cutters. You'll also need to re-roll all of your pastry trimmings, by the way. There is enough pastry in this recipe to make all 4 5-inch individual pies. And there you go, 4 bases and 4 lids, all ready to go. Time to put these beautiful pies together. First job is to make the egg wash. Crack a large egg into a container, add a dash of milk and whisk vigorously until it runs off the whisk as a loose liquid. As I normally do with my pie recipes, I'll fully assemble one pie from start to finish and do the other 3 off camera. Start by adding a base pastry to the greased pie tin. Gently work the pastry down into the tin. And for those girls and guys with long fashionable nails, take a spare piece of pastry and push it right down into the corners of the tin where the side meets the base. It's important to get it right down into that corner. Flatten the excess pastry onto the lip of the tin. Grab a fork and prick a few holes into the base as shown. This is called docking the pastry. It just helps stop the pastry base from bubbling up in the oven. Before going any further, preheat your oven to 170 degrees Celsius, that's 340 Fahrenheit, or gas mark 3. Okay, and here's the filling after it's completely cooled. As you can see, it thickens even more when it's cold. Right, onto the good bit. Spoon the filling into the base. And as this filling does expand some when baking, it needs to be level or even just below the top of the case. And a very quick mention to the channel's Patreon members and supporters. I'll be giving the latest list a shout out a little later in the video. Once your filling's in, get your egg wash and brush it all around the lip of the pastry. Try not to get any wash between the pastry and the tin, as this will stick like glue in the oven. It wouldn't be the end of the world, but it's a problem that can be easily avoided by being careful. And for belt and braces, brush a little around the edge of the pastry lid. Now carefully line up the lid over the top of the pie. Using your fingers and thumbs, crimp all around the edge of the pie. This just takes a little practice, you sharp get the hang of this. Right, using a dull knife, cut away the excess pastry. And if you wouldn't mind guys, if you found the video useful and enjoyable, can you give the video a like by hitting the thumbs up? It really helps the channel tremendously. Once that's done, crimp all around the edge of the pie again. This tidies up the pie, but more importantly ensures a good seal when baking. And for those caterers out there, I highly recommend that you get these pies on your menu. Cut 2 or 3 vent slits in the middle of the pastry. Now brush egg wash all over the lid of the pie, once again being careful not to get any between the pastry and the tin. Make sure the ventilation slits are not clogged with egg wash. And there you go. One beautiful looking pie all done and ready to bake. And here's all 4 completed and ready to go into the oven. FYI, you can freeze at this stage for future use. Simply defrost in your fridge for 24 hours and then bake as normal. Right, into the oven and set your timer for 50 minutes. And while those wonderful pies are baking, I hope you don't mind if I give my 4 recipe books a quick shout out. The books have lots of our favourite recipes from our work kitchens in them. And also book 4 in this series is totally dedicated to bread recipes. Also, the skeleton style oven gloves, now supporting our company name, are also available too. Just check out the link in the description box to our website store if you're interested in any of these items. Right, time's up on the pies. If yours is still a little light in colour at this point, just give them a few more minutes in the oven. But mine are done and looking fantastic. They're also kicking out an amazing aroma. Our kitchen smells absolutely divine at the moment. Now these are way too hot to do anything with at the moment, so I let them sit still in the tins on a wire rack for about 10 minutes or so. And when I come back, we'll have a look on the inside and give them a taste. It's going to be a long 10 minutes. Okay, they've been sitting there for a while now and it's time to give them a try. And here's what the bottom of the pie looks like. Nicely cooked. There's no soggy bottoms on my channel. Right, I've transferred them to a chopping board, but they are still quite hot. Time to cut one open and see what they're like on the inside. First thing to notice is that unmistakable steak and ale aroma. Beautiful. And doesn't that look absolutely mouth-watering? We served this with mashed potatoes or chips, mushy peas and a rich beefy gravy. Not hanging around today, straight in for a bite. What a delightfully rich savoury flavour. Delicious. Like I said earlier, to appreciate the incredible taste of this savoury steak and ale pie, it's something you'll have to experience yourself. I know one thing, you will not be disappointed. Another huge thumbs up guys. And as promised earlier in the video, here is the latest list of my Patreon, PayPal and Super Thank You button supporters. And they are Monica J. Talkington, Dan Calgero, Doral Elder 1352, Jens K 3250, Bear Cub $5.99, John Thompson 1953, and finally Sally Kate Rhubarb 2005. And there's also one who wishes to remain anonymous. Thanks very much guys, I really do appreciate all that you do in supporting the channel. Well, thank you again for watching. Please like, share, comment and subscribe by hitting the circle above. If you do subscribe, activate the bell icon next to the subscribe button on my channel page. And by doing that, you'll be automatically notified every time I upload a new video. And in the meantime, here's a few of my other videos and playlists that you may want to watch. So, until the next time, be safe in your kitchen and bye for now.